There's one big gripe with me and lots of other Libra guys that like the idea of freedom-based software. And we also don't like something called software patents. Software patents allow monopolies on a certain feature within your software. So you have hardware patents that patent ideas in hardware. You even have patents on, let's say, organic stuff like seeds. So it's patenting the idea, the formula of that seed. And also we have software patents. And software patents allow you to patent ideas in the software. So it doesn't have to be the entire software, the entire program. It could be a small feature in the program. So to give you a good example of what you can patent, meaning lock down an idea, well, take Richard Stallman. He's had a few run-ins, but here's one of them. He wrote Emacs. Emacs is an editor. And the editor is very famous, it's very well known, and it's distributed completely free. And he created a nice little feature inside of Emacs where you could type out an abbreviation such as SOS, and you could hit a key and it would write out that abbreviation, save our souls. This little feature that turns an abbreviation into words has been patented. And he did not know about it. So the people that own the patent to that contacted Mr. Stallman and said, take the feature out of your software. We've patented it. It's our idea and we're not going to let you use it. You couldn't even say, how much do you want? Sometimes you can pay a licensing fee. So you could say £1 a copy to use that idea in your software. But when it comes to Libra software, you have possibly unlimited distributions. So there's no way you can really track it. So there's no way you could pay those kind of license fees anyway. It was gratis, it was free software. So he had to take the feature out. But even something as simple as that was patented. Very unique. However, you can see more and more of this in the industry. That you see big businesses sue people for billions over what you look at is such a simple idea. So this allows corporations who can afford these lawyers and so forth to draft up these instruments. They become very complicated, and when you try to read some of these patents, they are quite vague sometimes. So they could apply this patent with quite a wide brush and try to come after you. And I think that that is not in the spirit of the law anyway, because the spirit of the law is the fact that it should be precise, it should be accurate, and it should be dead on to exactly what the idea is. But sometimes it can be very vague. And it's not only dangerous for small-time developers, it's also dangerous for users as well. So for example, take the case with Microsoft. Now Microsoft was one of the pioneers of software patents. So they kind of fall foul on their own ground, where a patent troll, now a patent troll is a company that hasn't really made any software. What they do is they register patents and then they go after big corporations and make a ton of cash. So a patent troll sued Microsoft and they said, you owe us money damages of, I believe, in around 40 million, something like that, just for a simple idea in software. And Microsoft said, make us. They lost the lawsuit, they had to pay them. And Microsoft said, we're not going to pay you. Make us pay you. We're not going to do it. Now, the patent troll knew, what most people don't know, is that you are liable as a user. So they said, well, if you don't want to pay us, we're going to have to go after each individual user. And they're going to lose the lawsuit, so they've got their own legal fees to pay for. And also, they need to pay us the licensing fee for that idea. So literally they went around Microsoft and said, well, if you're not going to pay us, your users are going to have to pay us. The users didn't program it, they don't know anything probably about software patents, and they were in the firing line, and Microsoft's credibility was on the line. So Microsoft had no choice but to pay the money damages. So as you can see, software patents are not just dangerous to the user, but they are also dangerous to other companies and even corporates. So it's a really bad idea, and I believe computing is all about sharing, adapting and changing ideas, and that's how we came up with a computer in the first place. For example, the graphical user interface, the menus, the clicky button, you'd go, well, you couldn't patent that. Well, actually, that could have been patented. Luckily, it wasn't, and it was distributed. And then all the corporations that we see today, Microsoft and Apple and others, they use the graphical user interface. So it's a good job that it wasn't patented. It's open, it's shareable, and it makes a great environment. It allows the creativeness to flow. And I believe software patents stifle it. And they say, well, it allows the little guy to, let's say, patent a feature in his software and stop the corporates from doing it. Well, as I said before, you need a patent lawyer. You need to know how to draft up a patent, if not. And that takes time and it takes effort, and in the meantime, you could be programming. So that is not really that good. It's not going to protect us as the small-time programmers. And if you were to, let's say, create a patent, and then you go up to the company and you say, well, hold on a minute, I'm the little guy here and I've got this software patent. And what they'll do is the corporation will rifle around in their patent pool, that's what we call it, a patent pool, a pool full of patents, and they will find one little patent that will apply to that software that that developer has. And then they say, we've got this patent, and this patent. And then they say, well, unless you want some big lawsuits, you can come and join our patent pool. So that little programmer then has to sign an agreement and he's part of the patent pool. But he can't distribute his software as Libre, and he can't distribute his software as open source because he needs to pay a licensing fee. Or it's not allowed because that idea is patented. So the way you distribute it will be, unfortunately, forced to be proprietary. So that is the major issue. I don't believe software patents are good for this industry. I don't believe they protect anybody. I do believe they protect special interests. They're trying to lock out patent trolls so that the corporates don't keep having to get sued. But unfortunately, all of their ideas, all of this is based off ideas and just sharing and manipulating and changing. And I like that idea of software and even hardware just being open, adaptable and changeable. That's what we based it on. And it doesn't mean you're unable to make any commercial gain off it. You can make commercial gain off liberty. In fact, you can make a ton of cash. But however, when you file patents, you are the alpha and the omega over that little idea. It's just a little idea. Now also, I want to talk about DRM. DRM stands for Digital Rights Management, and what they're trying to do is protect the rights of the studios and the artists, whether they be music studios or whether they be film studios and so forth. What they're trying to do is protect the artist and protect the media that's being distributed. So whether it be popular films, popular music, maybe ebooks or something like that, they're trying to encrypt it so that you only get that one copy and that's it. Well, let's say that I have an ebook that I want to print out. I like reading it on physical paper. Have I created an illegal copy? Well, personally, no, because you've already bought your copy, and if you go and print it out, you've made a copy, but it's for you still. If you distribute it, that's when it's illegal. You're not supposed to redistribute. But let's say if I have a film, is it where I've crossed into a line of criminality that I can never escape when I make a backup of the film in case the CD gets destroyed, which it does happen at times, or I lose the CD? Have I crossed over into a line of criminality? No. Also with music. Music can be locked down through digital rights management, encrypted. It can also come with forms of spyware that spy on the user. They can look at the hardware, they can look at certain aspects when you put it into a DVD player and so forth. And there's also got regions on it, which doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. So I don't like DRM at all, because what you're trying to say is somebody that purchases a pirated version of a film, well, that has got no DRM. It doesn't spy on them, it doesn't track them in any way, shape or form, and it's completely unencrypted. So you could make as many copies of it as you want. And you know that if it's pirated, it's illegal, it's not right. But what you're then saying is people that have genuinely bought the film, the music, or the media cannot make their own copies, cannot do with it as they want, just like if I buy a physical book, I can rip all the pages out, I can destroy it, I can do whatever I want to it. But with DRM, what it does is it locks things down. And one case and example is where Amazon sells ebooks, and they deleted an ebook through a back door. I believe it's 1986 by George Orwell. They actually deleted that book off the Amazon swindle through a back door. And that's because they weren't allowed to create another copy, so they could just delete it and say, no, we're not going to allow it. It's kind of seditious towards the government, rebelliousness and so forth. It's really something that we have to focus on, and we have to pay attention. So somebody who buys a pirated version has more freedoms than somebody who purchases the actual music. Likewise, if I purchase a CD, I can make copies of it. I want to make copies of it. I want to back it up. And I should be able to play and experiment with it and do whatever I like with it, as long as I don't redistribute it in an illegal manner. So I should have those freedoms. I should be able to be in that zone of freedom. Now, of course, if you make a copy and then you go and resell it, then that's illegitimate. You shouldn't do that. But that's down to the user's morale and educating the users to say, look, you can make copies, you have these freedoms, but don't redistribute. And that thing that you bought it. Simple as. So I do believe that there is two sides to the argument. And for the most part, DRM limits. I mean, it's a very good job that iTunes now has taken off DRM from music. Because if you think about it, you are making a copy. When you put it on your iPod or iPhone or any iDevice, you are making a copy of the music. And with DRM, they locked it down to Apple's devices. But why can't I, let's say if I have an older car that doesn't have that new stereo feature, it can only let me play CDs, why can't I burn it onto a CD and play it in my car? I purchased it, it's mine. But however, I can't do that because it's locked down on Apple devices. Luckily, Apple has got rid of DRM on the music side of things, and I hope they get rid of DRM on the DVD side of things, because guess what? The software pirates can quite easily get around it. You don't need to be an expert. You could literally just record the screen and the audio, and it doesn't matter what encryption you've got on there. It doesn't care. So this is what I'm trying to state right now, is the fact that limiting the user because of DRM is not the way forward. And by having pirated copies giving people more freedom and the genuine version giving people less freedom, where is the sanity in doing such a thing? You shoot yourself in the foot. And there is billions and billions and billions of pounds lost in revenue due to piracy. So my argument is get rid of DRM, give your users the freedom and flexibility, and trust them a little bit more. When you have customers, you have to trust them, you have to respect them, and I do believe that DRM is in a way disrespectful to the user. But again, my personal opinion.